In today's video, we'll talk about network automation, and the tools that we're going to be using to demonstrate that is going to be Python 3, and that's going to be running on a Centos virtual machine. And if you don't know or don't have a Centos virtual machine, you can download it. It's free. Centos 7 is what I'm using, and it's what's recommended. Once you download it and install it, it's pretty straightforward. You can run yum update, then install the Python 3 with this command, and then do a pip3 install Netmeco. This is the library that we will be using for automation in Python. All right, the logic that we are using to automate is loopback addresses in the network. So the loopbacks are numbered according to the router numbers. VOS1 is 1111, VOS2 is 1112, VOS4 is 1114, and VOS3 is 1113. And if you have the routing configured from the previous video, that is great. If you do not, you would advertise loopback 0 for VOS1 in OSPF, and it should get to its neighbor. And then this loopback I'm advertising in BGP, and so is the case with this one. Both are BGP advertised, and I'll hopefully remember to show you the configs, but this is not a routing video, it's just an automation. And you can test it any way you want, but this one is also going into OSPF. So my logic is that I am using this automation to say, okay, if it's an Ethernet, if it's a VOS3 or VOS1, if it's VOS1 or VOS3, they have stub networks, Ethernet 1. So what I'm saying is, okay, just set the description of the step network to be, stub. So in this case, Ethernet 1 and Ethernet 1 would be set as stub interface for their description, and their Ethernet zeros would be configured for OSPF interface as their description. I'm just setting the description for demonstration. So Ethernet 0, OSPF interfaces, Ethernet 1, stub networks on, if it's a 1 or 3, 1, 3, or 1, I will set it to this description here. That's the logic that I'm going to build in my Python script. And if it's a 2 or 4, so the loopback 2 or 4, and if your loopbacks are not in sequence, then obviously you're going to have very long and difficult scripts. Here I'm going to be using for loops and if statements in Python so that I don't have to write a script for every single router. I can just use for loop and an if statement to match and set the statements or set the description of the interface. So router 2 interface 0 is going to be OSPF interface. Router 4 Ethernet 0 is going to be OSPF interface, and their Ethernet 1 is going to be BGP interface. So basically I'm setting descriptions of interfaces based on the router loopback. So I've got some logic built into this network, and that's how typically the network should be built, or at least the loopback should be configured for management purposes and automation purposes. So having explained that logic, again, once you have this up, you will have a Centos machine that would be connecting to your VOS3 interface Ethernet 1. And the IP I've configured here is 3, so his default gateway is going to be this guy. And I am going to show you that CentOS here, I should be able to ping 200.3.3.3, and that's my VIOS router. If I do SSH VIOS at 200.3.3.3, I get into VIOS 3. The other thing that you want to make sure that you are able to do from this automation machine or your CentOS machine is that you're able to ping all the loopbacks that you have from 1.1.1.1 to all the way to 1.1.1.4. So let's make sure that you can do that. Because it's going to try to reach and set the description of the interfaces. Now, having said that, let's look at the, let me get this guy out of the way. Let's look at the show interfaces. Right now, there are no descriptions on VIOS 3. Show interface, no description on VIOS 1. No description on VIOS 2. No description on VIOS 4. So let's go ahead and run the script and then check the interface. And my script name is set interface. So I'm going to say Python 3 setInt pi. And it takes a while, so I'm just gonna keep checking the interfaces. Let's go here to VIOS 1. That's the first one. There you go, it got set. OSPF interface and stub interface. Okay, let's go to 2. Not yet. And you can see the Python working in the background here. There you go. Let's go to 3. It's set, and 4. You can probably expect that it's not done because it's not done in the background. So let's just check. Not yet. There you go. So here we just demonstrated how we can go create a logic in the networks and the loopbacks, which are the management interfaces, and automate something as simple as setting the descriptions. Now let's go look at the command or Python script. It's a very straightforward script. If you look at the library that we wanted to import, it was this guy, pip3 install Netmeco. This is the library that we are using. So if you are successfully able to install that, make sure your CentOS is connected to the network first through a NAT to get all this stuff done, and then connect that interface to the router. So once that is set up and complete, it's a simple script. It says from Netmeco import connect handler, and then I am getting into a for loop. This is how a for loop looks like. I'm setting it for n in the range of 1 through 5. It stops at 4, and then I'm setting the IP and the last octet to be dynamic. So this is the command and format to do that. So this is going to be a changing one. These are the static ones. And then I'm saying if IP is equals to 2 or 4, which are my BGP speakers, then do this. D or whatever variable you choose to use here. And then the command is connect handler device type VIOS. IP is equals to IP, which is this guy. And then username VIOS, password VIOS, and then C1 is what your command is, and like your commands are configure first, in your VOS router, then you're saying set interface Ethernet 0 description OSPF interface. You use a backslash to put the same command in the second line. So if you continue writing the second, this is one command. You can possibly put it in one line, but I choose to put it in 2 lines. That's why I'm using this backslash here. So comma, it's very cryptic Python. You have to make sure you indent here, because if you don't, it's not going to recognize if it's a loop or not. So for every loop or a statement or logic that's getting introduced, you have to indent here. The for loop has an indent, and the if loop has an indent. If statement has an indent. So anything within the first if is here, it's indented, and this is the second indentation here. But if you get a hang of the Netmeco command or APIs, it's very straightforward. It's a command 1 equals to configure. This is where your configures are: set interface Ethernet 0 description OSPF, set interface Ethernet 1 description BGP interface, and then your last command in VOS is always commit. Then you're basically sending this command by D. This is the D here. You're saying D send config set command 1. You're sending command 1, and that's done for 1 and 2 and 4. 1 and 3 is exactly the same thing. Now the only change is that I'm saying if it's 1 or 3, you set the interface E1 to be stub interface instead of BGP interface. It's a very simple script, but that gives you an idea of how Python automation works with the Netmeco APIs. So it's important that you install this one. And I'm using Python 3. I have not tried with Python 2, which comes default with CentOS 7. So you're going to have to install Python 3, and then you're going to have to install Netmeco with the pip3 command. Once you do that, and you have some kind of a setup, even with one router, you should be able to test this out.